On behalf of the Bruges Group, I have a few questions for you. Okay.
Yes, no,
Oh,
delighted to be with the Bruges Group, which I think is of such an important group and has done so much for this country in terms of getting us to Brexit. So thank you for all you do to start with.
thank you, sir. Now, if I start with, if the 2019 general election was about saving Brexit, does the 2024 election risk losing it again?
Um, I think the benefits of Brexit will come more slowly if we were to have a Labour government. But I don't think there's any risk that a new government would take us back into the European Union. I think there's no appetite for that in the country, and there's no desire, even within the leadership of the Labour Party, to rehash the arguments of 2016 to 2019.
Yes, but could another government um, get us like a sort of grand old Duke of York situation whereby you're half in and half out and gradually sort of becoming more and more associated with the EU by stealth?
Oh, yes, of course they'll do that. They will try and copy the EU. They will try and align as closely as possible. This government is looking to implement the CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, which is an EU rule. We're told that yesterday the VAT threshold didn't go up beyond £90,000 because of the EU rules affecting Northern Ireland. So, absolutely, there are people who wish us to be closely aligned, but, and this is the fundamental point, we are sovereign again, and there is no senior law that can tell us we must do this. It is a matter of democratic political will, and a future government could change all of it. Whereas whilst we were in the European Union, the only way to change it was by leaving, which was much harder.
Yes, we're sovereign, but are we sovereign in the wider sense of various other supranational organizations? I mean, uh,
Well, we're sovereign if we want to be.
yeah,
But you see that this is where the European Union was fundamentally different, because European Union law was our law and overruled Parliament. Now, yes, of course, we're still signed up to the European Court of Human Rights. I happen to think that's a mistake. But if we wish to ignore that court, we are free to do so. There is no legal structure that means we have to follow it. Parliament can legislate for us to leave the European Court of Human Rights, as indeed it did for the European Union. But even without that, ECHR law only takes effect in the UK if Parliament says so, because of our dualist system. That was changed with the European Union, where EU law took direct effect. And that difference is absolutely fundamental.
thank you. And now, some people who may voted leave at the 2016 referendum and Conservatives in the 2019 general election may now feel let down by what they see as the government's failure to realise the potential of sovereignty, and are now tempted to punish the government by voting for another party. What do you say to these people, and what do you have to offer then?
Well, I mean, I have some sympathy with their position. I think it was absolutely feeble of the government not to proceed with the retained EU law bill that I introduced, or I introduced to Parliament, and then by the second reading, Liz Truss's government had fallen, and it was presented or taken through its stages by Kevin Badenoch, but then she truncated it and took out the repeal of all EU law by the end of last year. And that was a great disappointment, because it means EU law, EU regulations remain interwoven in our system in a way that shouldn't have happened, and has stopped us getting many of the Brexit benefits that were there for grasping, were easy to grasp. So I understand the frustration, because I feel the frustration. But to anybody who is thinking of voting for reform, if they do that, we will get even fewer benefits of Brexit, because the Labour Party will win and will closely align with the European Union.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And so what do you see as a good role for the Bruges Group in the run-up to the election?
Well, I think good role for the Bruges Group is to continue as an intellectual powerhouse, pointing out what bits of EU law are still there that aren't working, and also broadening out into the European Court of Human Rights and how that doesn't work with the British system of common law.
Excellent. And do you see a role for it in sort of keeping the electorate informed and giving the advantage
Absolutely.
dangers?
Keeping the electorate informed, reminding people of why this matters, reminding people of why it was important that we left, emphasizing, as the Bruges Group has always done, that sovereignty is so important. That what is sovereignty about? It's about democracy. Can your vote change things? And this has always been at the heart of what the Bruges Group has been doing, and indeed goes back to Margaret Thatcher's speech all those years ago, after which the Bruges Group is named.
Excellent. And what's your prediction for the election? I mean, sort of, how is the party and how are you going to win over the electorate over the next few months? Presumably the next few months, as opposed to 1 or 2.
Yes, we've got to try and win the electorate back. I think the key is to reassure those people who are thinking of voting for reform or thinking of staying at home that the Conservatives are still there, are still on their side, still believe in the things we believed in 2019. I think the task must be to try and put together the coalition of supporters we had in 2019. And that's not easy from where we are, but that must be the task. And we need to show what we're doing that proves that.
Excellent. And as far as the Conservative Party and the government it's going through its various travails over the last few years, and its attempts to deliver Brexit and deliver something comprehensive. Where do you think it has gone wrong, and how should the government, elected government, if when elected again, deliver these things?
Well, the key mistake we made was those Conservative MPs who were determined to get rid of Boris, because Boris wanted to deliver on the Brexit benefits. He made me the Minister for Brexit Opportunities. We were discovering opportunities the whole time. We had a very active programme. I mentioned the Retain EU law bill, but we were also working to make our borders more efficient, to get all the benefits of free trade. We just need the drive for it that Boris had. Since he's left, the government has focused more on the routine matters of government, for better or worse, rather than on delivering Brexit benefits. It slightly gives the impression of being bored about the Brexit subject, and I think that's a pity.
Thank you. And I think we'll sort of round it off by sort of giving the opportunity to actually speak to the Bruges Group and the wider electorate, sort of, as your views as regards where we should go from here, and how the election will go.
Well, the budget that we've just had shows why the Brexit freedoms are needed. What we need is a fundamental restructuring of this economy to make it a dynamic growth economy, as opposed to the European Union, which is heavily regulated, closed, inward-looking. And we do that by the deregulations, the freedoms that we've got, by opening up our markets to more free trade. Yesterday, for example, was an opportunity to get rid of remaining tariffs on goods that we don't produce, which are still there. And that would have helped free us up. And these tariffs simply protect inefficient European businesses. They have no interest to the UK electorate. And those are the sort of advantages we need to grasp. Because if we don't, the UK economy, along with European economies, will stagnate. And we need to look at those economies that are succeeding. What are they doing? Well, yes, they have free trade, but they also have cheap energy. And we're still tied into the green policies of the European Union, which we should get rid of. That we are 1% of global emissions. We make no difference, but our energy prices are over double those of the United States and almost 6 times those of China. Well, that means our industry is operating at a huge disadvantage, and that individuals are spending much more money heating their homes. So it's reforming the economy by getting away from the net zero obsession, which we can't realistically do anything about in global terms, and having the regulations that support free markets rather than a dirigist command and control economy. a lot of which is tied up in European regulations. Why is our planning system so hopeless? Well, a lot of it is because of EU regulations that we impose, so habitat regulations and so on, nutrient neutrality regulations that have stopped houses being built and factories being developed. This is an incredible imposition on our economy. So the Brexit benefits need to be grasped, free markets need to be embraced, and net zero needs to be long delayed to a point at which other countries are doing it. And then we will see GDP per capita growing, the standard of living getting better. This little telephone is propped up against the multi-volume Money, Penny and Buckle biography of Disraeli. We need to get back to Disraeli's view of the condition of the people and how we improve that. And if we do that, we have an exciting offer for the electorate, and we will gain the support and the trust, regain it, of people in the Bruges Group who may be flirting with Richard Tice. The mind boggles at the thought of people flirting with Richard Tice.
Thank you very, very much indeed, sir. You're very, very kind.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And again, thank you for all the work the Bruges Group does. I think it's very important.
Well, thank you for your help, sir.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.